We begin this story from a place of uncertainty, because uncertainty is exactly where Chase seems to be standing right now. Rumors have been circling for a while about the possibility that Chase might be leaving General Hospital. And while we understand why those rumors exist, we do not fully believe they're grounded in what the story is actually building toward. From our perspective, this moment feels less like an ending and more like a crossroads. Chase is cornered emotionally, romantically, and professionally. And when a character reaches that point in a long-running series, it often signals transformation rather than disappearance. We want to walk through every layer of that transformation carefully, because each one matters, and each one hints at what could come next. Right now, Chase's life looks fragile from every angle. His marriage to Brooke Lynn, which once felt like a hard-won victory after years of missed timing and emotional distance, is no longer stable. We can sense that something heavy sits inside Brooke Lynn, something she does not fully articulate but clearly carries. There has been no clear confirmation that her sadness comes directly from Chase's infertility, but we cannot ignore how central that issue is to their marriage. Infertility is not just a medical condition in this story, it is a symbol. It represents limitation, loss of imagined futures, and a quiet fear that love might not be enough to hold two people together when the life they envision begins to slip away. Chase's infertility places him in an especially vulnerable position. For a man who has always defined himself by his ability to protect, provide, and do the right thing, being unable to give his wife a child could feel like a personal failure, even if rationally he knows it is not his fault. We think this internal struggle is key to understanding his current behavior. He is not simply drifting away from Brooke Lynn out of boredom or cruelty. He is possibly running from a version of himself that he no longer recognizes, a version that feels incomplete and powerless. That kind of insecurity can quietly poison a relationship, even one built on genuine affection and shared history. At the same time, Brooke Lynn's silence is just as important as Chase's turmoil. She has always been strong-willed and outspoken, so her restraint now suggests a deeper pain. We suspect she is grieving not only the idea of motherhood, but also the realization that Chase may already be emotionally elsewhere. Even if she cannot name it yet, she likely senses the shift. Marriages rarely collapse because of one single issue. More often, they unravel through accumulation, through unspoken disappointments layered on top of each other, until intimacy becomes strained and communication falters. Into that fragile space steps Willow, a figure from Chase's past who represents an entirely different life path. Willow is no longer the woman Chase once knew. She is married to Drew, and on the surface, her life looks settled. But surfaces are deceptive in this town, and we think Chase understands that better than most. We believe Chase suspects, possibly even knows, that Willow's marriage to Drew was not purely about love. Hypothetically, it may have been a strategic choice, driven by Willow's need for stability, protection, or leverage during a time when her legal and parental future was uncertain. This belief changes everything. If Chase truly thinks Willow married Drew for personal benefit rather than emotional commitment, then hope creeps back into his life. That hope is dangerous, but it is also intoxicating. It gives him a reason to imagine a future that feels less constrained than the one he currently shares with Brooke Lynn. We think Chase is likely clinging to the idea that once Willow's legal troubles are resolved, once she no longer needs Drew's support to fight for custody of her children, the marriage could dissolve naturally. In that imagined future, Chase sees himself stepping into a role he once almost had but lost. However, this hope comes at cost. To believe in a future with Willow, Chase must at least partially accept the idea of leaving Brooklyn behind. That is not a small thing. It forces him to confront an uncomfortable truth about himself, that he may be capable of choosing his own happiness over loyalty, even if that choice hurts someone who has stood by him. We think this moral conflict is central to his story right now. Chase has always tried to be the good man, the honorable one, admitting that he wants Willow, despite his marriage, fractures that self-image. We also cannot ignore Drew's role in this triangle. Drew is not simply an obstacle. He is a legitimate partner to Willow, at least in the eyes of the law and society. A direct confrontation between Chase and Drew feels inevitable, but we do not believe it will escalate to the point of forcing one of them out of town. General Hospital has a long history of rivalries that simmer rather than explode, and this feels like one of those situations. Drew and Chase represent different versions of masculinity and protection, and Willow stands between them as both prize and decision-maker. Importantly, Willow is not passive in this story. While men around her speculate and strategize, the final choice belongs to her. We think this is a crucial point that often gets overlooked in fan discussions. Willow has endured manipulation, illness, and loss. She has learned to make decisions based on survival as much as love. When the time comes, she will choose the path that aligns with her sense of safety and self-worth. That choice may disappoint someone, but it will be hers. From our perspective, that makes the eventual outcome far more compelling. Chase's professional life adds yet another layer of instability. His suspension, which we believe is at least partially connected to his involvement with Willow, strips him of the identity he relies on when his personal life feels unsteady. Without his badge, Chase loses structure and purpose. That kind of loss can push a character to reckless decisions or unexpected growth. It also makes him more dependent on emotional connections, which could explain why his attachment to Willow feels so urgent right now. Given all of this, the idea that Chase would simply exit the show feels unlikely. There are too many unresolved threads, too many emotional consequences still waiting to unfold. We see no official confirmation of his departure, and narratively, it would make little sense to remove him at this stage. Instead, we think the writers are positioning him for a period of reckoning. He must face the fallout of his choices, both romantic and professional, before any long-term resolution is possible. We also want to address a more speculative idea that has been quietly circulating, the possibility that Chase could one day discover or adopt a child in secret. This is purely hypothetical, but it fits thematically with his current arc. If infertility has stripped him of the future he imagined, an unexpected child could offer a different kind of redemption. It would challenge his assumptions about legacy and fatherhood, forcing him to redefine what family means. Again, this is not something we present as fact, only as one of many narrative possibilities that could keep his character relevant and emotionally rich. As we look toward the future, we believe Chase will remain in Port Charles. His story is far from over. Whether he ultimately reconciles with Brooklyn, finds a second chance with Willow, or walks an entirely new path, his presence still serves the larger narrative. He embodies conflict, longing, and moral ambiguity, all of which are essential to the show's emotional core. Removing him now would feel premature and unsatisfying. In the end, we return to where we started, uncertainty. But uncertainty does not equal absence. It equals potential. Chase stands at the center of multiple storylines that are still actively unfolding. The rumors of his exit may reflect the chaos of his life rather than an actual departure. From our point of view, he is more likely to stay, to struggle, and to evolve. And as long as those struggles remain unresolved, we'll keep watching, because his story still has something meaningful to say.